Peak Performance Coach AJ Madden here. Today we will cover one of the most powerful principles of all. Out of the 200 peak performance principles that I have learned, taught, and practiced over the last 20 years, this is one of the most powerful. And this is the principle of working in your one or two strengths, working in the areas of your passionate strengths. And this is principle number 6 of our 7 principles of time mastery from 1% Warrior Leadership, available on Amazon.com and my website, CoachAJMadden.com. Let's jump into the principle. And we'll start with a quote from Dean Graziosi. Working on your weaknesses is a huge flaw. Get great at what you're good at. We only need to be good at one or two things and we can make an impact on the world. And I've seen this over and over again. We don't need to be good at 100 different things. We can just be really, really, really good at a small handful of things, one or two deep strengths that we have. And I call them passionate strengths because what we're looking for here is areas that we are passionate about the work, doing the work, and we have natural strengths in that area, natural inborn strengths. Author Robert Greene calls it primal inclinations, where we're naturally inclined to do this kind of work or do this kind of activity. We are just born into it for whatever reason. Line those two things up. The work you're passionate about doing and the work you are naturally good at doing. This is where the magic happens. This is where the happiest and most successful individuals I know live. This is where they make a point of living. It rarely just happens by accident and luck. We need to make it happen. We need to actively seek out this kind of work, this kind of career, this kind of business to start. No one is going to do that for us. We must do it for ourselves. And again, one more time, what work are you passionate about doing? And what work do you have natural strengths in? We line those two things up. An easy way to do this is to make a list. Two columns. One, what work we are passionate about doing, what we enjoy learning about, reading about, studying, getting our hands on, and getting into, physically into. The other list, what our natural strengths are, what people compliment us on, what people complimented us on when we were young, things that come easier to us than they do to others. So now we have our two lists there. We look for overlaps. And I've done this myself. This isn't something that I just preach and don't practice. I did this myself many, many years ago and look to line up those two lists. We see where the overlap is. For me, it was leadership and it was peak performance coaching. I had natural strengths in those areas and I was passionate about doing the work, getting up every day and doing that work. Having the honor and privilege to go out and coach people every day. And also to learn every day how to become a better coach, how to get better at what I do, how to upgrade my expertise. Studying the best in the world at what I do. That's where my two lined up. And that's what I do today. And that's where 1% Warrior Leadership, the book we're talking about, was born out of. My passionate strengths, which was the work I was passionate about doing, and what I had some natural abilities in. We take those two now. Now we have some, maybe a few things lined up there. And we ask ourselves, what if I can only pick one of these areas to do for the rest of my life? I can only choose one. What would it be? That's what I did, again, for my work, because I could have coached people in marketing. I could have coached people in sales and business growth. I could have coached people in social media marketing and many ways to grow the business. I could have coached people in product development. But I asked myself, I can only coach one for the rest of my life, because I was good in all those areas. I was good. I got good results for people. I got good results in my own business. I could have continued. I could have picked any one of those. But I asked myself, what's the one, if I can only do for the rest of my life, what would it be? And for me, that was leadership. That was working with number ones. what I call number ones. That's a CEO, a president, a chief of police, a head of an organization, a director, a chairman, the head of the organization. Because why did I choose number ones? Because I wanted to make the greatest positive impact I possibly could through my work. And if you can work with number ones, your positive impact will be exponentially greater because number ones have more impact themselves. So I decided that's what I want to do. That's what I'm passionate about doing. That's what I have natural strengths at doing. That's what I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And I chose that route. Now, when you work with leaders, high impact leaders in the business world, there's absolutely marketing conversations involved because a number one, a CEO, a president makes marketing decisions ultimately. They have to make marketing decisions. They make product decisions. So my expertise in all those other areas has served me very well because I can have intelligent conversations with a number one. The majority of what we work on is culture and leading leaders, attracting, developing, and keeping the best team members and leaders we possibly can. Those are our main areas of focus. And this didn't happen by accident. This is something that I actively sat down, made my list, thought about, and then had the discipline to focus on that one I would only do the rest of my life. So I challenge you to do the same. Now, when you have your passionate strengths, you match them up on those two lists, you need to find out what does the world need and who's willing to pay for it. Because if no one's willing to pay for it, this is just a hobby for you. And that's okay. I have hobbies. My hobby is mixed martial arts, self-defense training. That's my hobby. It's not a career because not as many people maybe are willing to pay for it, or I don't feel passionate about seeking out people to pay for it, or both. So that's more of a hobby for me. Now, there's others who make a full-time living because that's their passionate strength. That's the one thing they want to do, and they're better at it than I am. It's a hobby for me. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy training. I enjoy coaching in that area, but that's a hobby. The other side is finding someone who's willing to pay for the work that you have a passionate strength in, that natural ability and that passion for the work. You must find a market that's willing to pay for what you offer. What problem are you solving with your passionate strength? What need are you filling? That's where the magic happens. Now you can make a career out of it. And also the fourth part of it is, what does the world need? What does the world need? What are people willing to pay for in terms of my passionate strength? What does the world need and they are willing to pay for in terms of my passionate strength? This is Ikigai. Essentially, this is the definition of Ikigai, which is, that's the principle I'm referring to as, out of the 200 peak performance principles, the Ikigai principle is one of the most powerful. I studied, identified, practiced around 200 peak performance principles over the last 20 years. Mental models, some people call them. Ikigai is top three, I imagine. I'd say 80-20 principle is right up there at the top. Kaizen, which is one of the principles this book is based on. 1% warrior, get 1% better than yesterday. There's a good top three right now. That's a good top three for you. And this Ikigai is working in the areas of your one or two biggest strengths. If you're working for any organization, we must match up our passionate strengths, one or two passionate strengths, with the vital functions of the organization. Whatever the vital functions are of that organization, that's where we must match up our passionate strengths in. Then that's where the magic happens, because we're working in an area where there's no friction for us. The ideas, the solutions, the growth just flows out of us. And it also matches up with what the organization truly needs, the vital functions of the organization. That's where, as leaders, we must aim for, to be operating in that zone 90% of the time. The other 10%, reactionary, because life is dynamic, problems come up, new problems come up. The happiest and most successful people I know work in the areas of their passionate strengths. They just do. It's not work for them because they enjoy doing it so much. Here's some examples of some billionaires on how they work in the areas of their two biggest strengths that are also the two vital functions of their organization. Steve Jobs, technology and sales. Those were his two passionate strengths, and they were also the vital functions of Apple that he needed to fulfill. Mark Cuban, technology and sales. Bill Gates, technology and sales. A third, if you could offer a third, it'd be partnering up with the best possible people. Partnering up with the best possible people, the best team members, hiring the best leaders, partnering with the best vendors or other businesses. That would be a third. So ironically enough, again, look at Mark Cuban, Steve Jobs, and Bill Gates' success leaves clues, technology and sales. Warren Buffett was investing in sales. Sam Walton was the founder of Walmart, studying best practices in retail and building more stores. Mark Zuckerberg was getting more users on social media and partnering with the best people. He made some tremendous hires and partnerships. Mark Zuckerberg did. Elon Musk, engineering and sales. Do we see a pattern here with sales? Success leaves clues. What do we do with everything else that's outside of our one or two biggest strengths? Delegate. Be a master of delegation. And here's a quote from Kevin Cruz, one of my favorite authors. Instead of asking, how can I do this? Ask, how can this get done? Instead of asking, how can I do this? Ask, how can this get done? Boy, is that a powerful question. And here's some tips from the book, and there's more in the book. I'll give you a few here in terms of delegation mastery. If a team member or leader asks for a task, give it to them. Give it to them. If someone asks for something, give it to them. As long as it's not one of those vital functions that you must do, give someone the task. A second tip is allow people to fail safely. When you delegate things, allow them to fail safely. Right? They'll want to take on more, and they'll be more energized and motivated to do more. And a third is bring people problems, not solutions, and let them figure out the best way to solve it. That's one of my favorites. Bring people problems, not solutions. Bring your team members problems, not solutions as a leader. And let them tell you how they would solve it. They're going to be more passionate about doing the work because it was their idea and their solution anyway. That's a huge mistake when you do it the other way around. Unless it's a vital function, you're driving a mission, setting a clear goal. When it's in reverse, when people bring you problems or challenges, ask them how they think they should solve it. Continuously challenge people to think solution-oriented, because then they just either don't even come to you anymore because they already have the confidence and the mind frame to just be solution-oriented. Or when they do, the conversations are much faster because they know to bring you solutions to these problems right off the bat. So that is one or two biggest strengths, that Ikigai. And we'll end with a quote here from Gary Vaynerchuk. I am terrible at 99% of the things I do, but I work harder than anyone else at the 1% I am good at, and that's why I am a millionaire. And that's similar to a quote I say very often, a piece of advice I give. Be incredibly lazy at the things that don't matter, and be incredibly disciplined and laser focused on the things that do, which is what I challenge you to do. I challenge you to be laser focused on the thing that matters, the vital few things that matter, and really lazy at the things that don't. Either don't do them or delegate them. I also challenge you to figure out what your passionate strengths are, to make a list and line those up and figure out what need can you serve, what problem can you solve with your passionate strengths, because you will live a happy and successful life if you can do so. If you found this book useful, and if you found this video useful, please click like and subscribe. If you found it helpful, please share this video with someone you believe will also find it helpful. Please pick yourself up a copy of 1% Warrior Leadership. This is 20 years of in the trenches leadership experience poured into this book. This is the best of the best lessons that I learned over the last 20 years. I know you will find it useful, as many others have. And I wish you success and happiness. And I challenge you to work in the areas of your one or two biggest strengths.